All right, folks, I welcome you back to America Talks Live, and time for Gimme 5. Two topics today. Bill Maher, I have no use for the guy whatsoever, except he gets the Muslim terrorism issue, and he's not afraid to speak about it, and that is to his credit. And on his HBO show, which I don't get HBO, I will not give a dime to HBO to support them and their radical leftist shows. Nonetheless, here's some of what he had to say.
He is for profiling. That's what he said. But he said we should do it the way Israel does. And like every once in a while, Donald Trump says something right. Because we profile already. We just do it stupidly. All police work is profiling. Discrimination does not mean prejudice. Discrimination means telling unlike things apart.
We discriminate in everything we do. I mean, I've been saying this for years. Profiling is policing. That's what they do. By nature, by definition, they profile. Profiling is not racially insensitive or a crime or against the law, bigoted. This all started back on the New Jersey Turnpike many years ago when New Jersey state troopers, a couple of them, were found to have been pulling blacks over for no reason. No reason. Just to have their kicks or fun or whatever. All right? And then Al Sharpton made racial profiling into a dirty term because he said what they were doing was racial profiling. No, it wasn't. It was racial harassment. Profiling is what police do every day. Looking for whites, looking for blacks, looking for suspects. Everything they do is profiling. And you and I discriminate every day when we go to the supermarket and we have two products in our hand. We're discriminating against the one we're not picking. But everything's a bad word now. Okay, so he's talking about Trump, gets it right to a point in his view, and Hillary, here's more.
But the FBI was told by this guy's father, who again should get a parade.
Yeah, I agree.
Told by this guy's, I think my son's a terrorist. And he's reading a lot of stuff about terrorism, and he's a big fan of bin Laden.
These are trouble signs. I mean,
come on. I don't want to come down too hard on the FBI, but
well, look, they should have actually.
Right. And also, he went to Pakistan, and stayed for a year.
That they investigated.
Pakistan,
and Turkey to visit Syria,
which just passed a law on how to beat your wife. Not what should happen to you if you do. How to beat your wife.
Shh. We don't talk about that. Hillary takes money from these countries. Shh. Come on, Bill. You know better than that. But the point is, he's absolutely right, except it's not the FBI's fault. The FBI has been handcuffed by the policies of Barack Obama with influence from the likes of the Muslim Brotherhood and others in his administration in every branch of government. They've sanitized it. You can't talk about radical Islam as an FBI agent. You've got to undergo sensitivity training so you don't talk about radical Islam. They've wiped it off the face of the earth out of their training manuals. So what do you expect the FBI to do? Their hands are tied, like our soldiers' hands are tied overseas. They can't fire unless they're fired on first. And that's what they want to do to cops in this country, by the way. That's what Hillary wants to do to cops in this country. That would be fun. See who's going to be a cop after that changes. Anyway, more.
If we would pay people $100,000 to do this job, we could get the kind of people who do it in Israel. And again, we're just talking about a few questions. We're not talking about the rubber hose or sending you to a black site.
Right.
I mean, I don't think this is too much of a sacrifice.
This is one of the fundamental.
Okay, first of all, in Israel, the reason why, thank God, there's never been a successful attack on an Israeli airliner, for instance, and that's what he's talking about, pay these people. He means at the airports. First of all, Israel's a much smaller country. But Israel, they have people who are trained to the hilt. They sit down, they know body language, they know what to look for, they ask a specific set of questions, they know what the red flags are. These aren't people who, in a union who, make X amount of dollars an hour and want to go on their lunch shift. It just wouldn't happen here. It couldn't happen here. You're not going to train people to that extent. You're not going to be able to take that much time with people in this country. I'm not making excuses, but don't say Israel just asked one or two questions. They don't ask one or two questions. And then he actually takes Hillary to task.
But Hillary says things like, the kinds of rhetoric and language Mr. Trump used is giving aid and comfort to our adversaries. That's what she said. But that doesn't really tell you how he's going to stop the attacks. She just seems to lecture us on how to be a better person. This is what I worry about with the election. If there's a terrorist attack a week before the election.
All right. And he worries that I don't know, that it'll help Trump, but yet he's knocking Hillary. Now, interesting, as we mentioned earlier in the show, I just want to, if you're just tuning in, according to the FBI, they've withheld these phone transcripts until now. You know how we hear from Obama and Hillary, oh, we can't have Gitmo. That's a recruiting tool for terrorists. Oh, we can't stick someone's head underwater. That's a recruiting tool for terrorists. Oh, we can't say radical Islam. That's a recruiting tool for terrorists. That's what they want. Really? Okay, well, you know, Barack Obama has increased the drone program overseas where he picks somebody out and just blows them away, much more so than George W. Bush ever did, and he caught heck for it from the left. The left now, of course, when Obama does it, is see no evil, hear no evil. But this Orlando shooter, Mateen, was on the phone with a cop, and they asked him what did it. One of the cops asked Mateen, who was speaking by cell phone from inside the club, to tell him what was going on. And this is the shooter in Orlando. Yo, the airstrike that killed Abu Wa'id a few weeks ago, that's what triggered it, okay? So does Obama now stop the drone strikes? Because we know now, all these months later, the FBI finally released these, that it was a drone strike killing a leader that he admired that set him off to go into the nightclub. So is that now what the terrorists want? We can't do that either? You see how foolish it is? You can't play that game, but they play that game. All right. Also something we touched on, reparations. This is a joke and a half and a half and a half and a half. The UN, and I think Bibi Netanyahu set us straight on the UN a couple of days ago when he spoke to the UN, okay? They are a joke, they are a farce, they should be closed down. But there's something called the United Nations Working Group for People of African Descent. And a woman named Muriel Fanin Mendez, who's the chairwoman of that committee from France, has decided that we in the United States treat blacks very poorly, dangerously so. As a matter of fact, it's criminal, and we should give them reparations. Watch.
Contemporary police killings and the trauma it creates are reminiscent of the racial terror lynching of the past. Impunity for state violence as a result in the current human rights crisis and must be addressed as a matter of urgency. Racial bias and disparities in the criminal justice system, mass incarceration, and the thought on crimes policy has disproportionately impacted African Americans.
All right, so they're tearing apart our justice system. We have institutionalized racism. We're treating blacks like state-sponsored lynchings. This is insanity. But this is the UN. And then I know she's hard to understand, but I thought this was worth it. And then there's this.
There is a profound need to acknowledge that the transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity, and among the major sources and manifestations of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance, and that Africans and people of African descent were victims of this act, continue to be victims of their consequences. Past injustice and crimes against African Americans need to be addressed with reparatory justice.
That's the fancy way of saying reparations. I didn't even know what So because of the slave trade, we, you and me, got to pay blacks who are here today. Black man's president, black, but we have to pay blacks who are here today, who weren't alive then. No, relative of theirs is alive. We got to pay them reparations. So says the United Nations. I'm sure Hillary will be right on that if, God forbid, she's elected. Thanks for watching.